Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the May 8th Board of Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Chair, 4 selectmen are present: Mrs. Begley, Mrs. Winslow, Mr. Holmes, Mr. Slavin, as well as the interim town administrator, Mr. Foster, and financial analyst, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. Announcements?
Mr. Chair, I had one announcement, but it doesn't have an announcement. It says, announcement for the Animal Control Bylaw Committee. That's all it says. Do you know what that means?
Yes, it was voted at town meeting last week that there was an article on dog barking.
Further study committee.
And vicious dogs, I think it was. And town meeting voted to appoint a board to review and create a bylaw. And there were, I believe, 2 at-large positions. Or was
Yes.
it 3? 2 at-large positions. So if anyone is interested in serving on that, please contact Town Hall, the Selectman's office, or you can go online and fill out an application if you're interested.
I do not have any other announcements, other than to say that if you have an announcement, I do try to search the internet for announcements, but I don't always have a chance to do that. So if you have an announcement, please feel free to email it on over. I'm happy to make your announcement for you. Mr. Slavin?
I have nothing for this week.
Mrs. Begley? Mr. Chair?
Nope.
That brings us to citizens' participation.
Anyone? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Joe Mulkern, Precinct 2. I was a proponent of the derelict building on the town warrant there, and it was voted down, and I'm still active trying to get things done here. Today after in the afternoon, I went and saw inspectional services, and I was informed that there was a committee already formed that has to do with taking care of these derelict buildings. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so he told me the town administrator, who is gone, himself, the inspectional service, the Wareham fire chief, the onset fire chief, the police chief, the health agent, and I think another large member, and also the town council. Okay, so talking to him, he told me there was $25,000 on inspectional services, less around $800 that they appropriated to board up the Cranberry Highway Motel down there, putting the plywood and stuff like that. And that leaves us approximately $24,000 in this account. And it's apparently nobody's doing anything with it, and this money is going to go back into the general account if it isn't used up by the end of the fiscal year. So I have a problem with that. These derelict buildings there, nobody seems to be doing anything about it, and he suggested to me that come up and say something to you people about getting this committee, subcommittee, whatever it is, together and appropriate this money to start using it, because there's a lot of buildings that we have problems with. And I heard town council is lax in doing this here. I don't know. I'm just hearing the hearsay. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no leadership up here, and I'm hoping that the selectman's office can do something about this and get these things corrected before the end of the fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foster. John, could you look into that and find out where Miles is coming from and get a meeting put together so that if there is available money and we can do something with those properties, we should try to get it done before July 1. Anyone else? Mr. Teitelbaum?
Yes. Peter Teitelbaum, just a quick update on the status of the legislation.
One second. And John, could we, Mr. McCurran, could you also make sure that Mr. Foster has your contact information, email address, whatever, Joe, so that he can contact you with an answer, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Teitelbaum.
Essentially, the bill has landed in the governor's office. He was apparently it was going to be brought to him for signature today. Unfortunately, his daughter became ill last night at dinner last night when dining with her sister. She was hospitalized, and he canceled all his events today to be with her. So it's still in the office. The interesting part is that we've now reached the time frame where he doesn't actually have to sign the thing in order for it to become law. So one way or another, either via his signature or by operation of law under the state constitution, which says he's got to dispose of legislation within 10 days, or it becomes law, I'll be sitting up there next Tuesday. So
I saw the action date is May 13th. So that must be Sunday, Mother's Day.
yeah, there you go.
So,
Yeah, I don't think he'll be in the office then. At least he shouldn't be in the office then.
so if he
anyway.
doesn't sign it, then you'll know that you got approved on Mother's Day. So
Well, there you go.
it's got to be worth the wait.
That'll be nice. Anyway, that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? I saw another hand. That might be some. Madam Clerk, could you look in the box? There's usually a stack of them in that. Might be in that yellow folder. Anyone else? I thought I saw one more hand. Yes, come right on up.
I don't see any.
Mr. Chair, there doesn't appear to be any.
It might be in that.
I
Sometimes they put a small stack in that folder.
I have one, Mr. Barros. Is there a copy machine up here? Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sharon Gomes, part of the Oakdale Betterment. There were a couple of things that we wanted to review and get answers. And most of the meetings that we come to and we ask for answers, and we're always waiting for somebody else to give us answers and waiting for paperwork. And it gets frustrating. I mean, I think that we have been patient. We've asked for people to review this, and we just get told, pay your betterment when it comes, or it's not fair. You have to pay a betterment just like everybody else. We want to pay like everybody else, but we want fairness. And the paperwork that I gave you are on the minutes. It's so hard to get minutes here. I don't understand that it takes 3-4 months to get minutes on a meeting. I don't understand that. What I'd like to ask is that each 2 terms, we've only asked the selectmen to review so that we could get fairness. Another thing is that there's wet order conditions that we have there. It's Mark Griffin has never been held accountable for his part. He was supposed to oversee most of the things that happen on the sewer. We don't feel that he has. There's the paperwork shows on the wet order conditions that his address is in, when he was overseeing Parkwood or whatever, his address is in Boston. I thought that he works for Wareham. It's at Cambridge Place, 50 Hampton Street, Cambridge. And then on Oakdale, he's at Charles Pond Road. We just want clarification of that. The original bid was for $4,000. Breaking everything down, 260 properties. If the original bid was to be it would have been 17. 5 million. We would have gone to 18. 5,219,000. We would have gone to 19. Over $1 million. We would have gone to 21. We need answers. We are waiting almost a whole year to get answers. We're tired of people saying, where's the paperwork? Everybody's giving excuses. They don't have that. You have everything in front of you. You have the minutes. You should have the exact same thing. This is where we got it from the town, these minutes. And we just want answers. You know, people need to trust the town that they live in. And we just want answers. We want to know where we stand. This is coming out of people. People are going to lose their home. Can any of you face people and say, hey, listen, we made mistakes, and if you lose your home, it's okay. You've paid taxes in the town 65 years. It's okay. You know, I mean, you're getting old. Your house is getting old. You know, but this is the decision we made. We made mistakes, and we don't want to own up to those mistakes. It's not fair. It's just not fair. We have this. Can somebody give us answers? That's what, there are like 8, 10 people overseeing this. Why don't we have answers? Why are we still waiting almost a year to get answers? It's not fair. I keep on hearing people say, well, we already paid our betterment. You paid $10,000, you paid $12,000. Okay, we understand that the cost has gone up, but we're talking about over $1 million. Why wasn't somebody overseeing this? Why didn't 2 selectmen 2 times before somebody oversee this, review it each time, each term? Somebody review this. Then we're talking about clean water going green. You're the one. Our life is in your hands here in Wareham as taxpayers. We respect you, but we need the trust, and that's what we're asking. Because you know what? I work out of town, and they say, "Oh, what's Wareham doing again?" You know, I don't like that. I love where I live, and I want to be proud where I live, and I want to know the people making decisions for me are going to make the best decisions. I want to look up to everybody here and know that you're going to make the best decisions for me and everybody else in this town.
Thank you very much. To answer some of your questions, we set a deadline. There have been estimates, obviously, that were given out a couple of years ago. And we actually, this evening, under sewer business, Mr. Campina is here. And the plan is that this evening he is going to tell us exactly what the expenses were and what his estimated betterment is. And then going forward, at some point in the next couple of weeks, we do run into Memorial Day, but in the next couple of weeks we will be having a meeting where we will have Mr. Judici will be here, Mr. Campina will be here, and Mr. Foster, I'm sure, will have some part in this as well. And we will have an open meeting with the residents and lay out what the timeline is, how the process works, and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's been done, maybe it's never been done. I don't know, but we're going to do it. And we weren't going to give out numbers until we were sure what they were. And I think based on what Mr. Campina is going to tell you tonight, I talked to him about 4 hours ago, but it's pretty much the same thing that we talked about, or maybe you all talked about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not sure, but we're going to find out on number 8. So we're going to do our best to give you the answers, and we're going to do our best to educate you, not with a postcard, but with a real meeting. We'll still have to send out postcards because obviously some people can't attend the meeting, some people live out of town, but we're going to do our best to educate and give you the timeline and then make our best efforts to make it reasonable for everybody. So that's my answer. Anyone else? Ma'am?
Diane Lassess, Precinct 1. Hi.
Good evening.
I just want to say a few words about the Oakdale-Cremisa Sewer Project. There are several things that are unfair about this project. First of all, if this project had been tied in with earlier ones, it would have been cheaper for everyone. The costs have risen so much in the last few years, and obviously when you divide it by the number of people, it's such a small project that it gets so expensive. Secondly, if all residents of the Cremisa Peninsula had been forced to tie in during this project, it would have spread the costs over many more households. I went out there tonight and counted at least 50 houses that would have been part of this project. That's like 20% of the total number. That's a lot when you're talking this kind of money. And I don't know why they weren't forced to do that. They're as much waterfront as the rest of us, some even more so, and they can probably afford it, if not more, at least as much as the rest of us can. And finally, there are residents with working septic systems, many of which have been quite costly to upgrade, and they're being forced to fill in perfectly good systems and tie into this system, and that's unfair. And I think, you know, this is all water under the bridge at this point, but it just highlights the unfairness of what is being done to us as residents. But I think the biggest injustice is that, well, as I understand it, the extension of these sewer lines was required by the DEP to remedy water pollution issues. The expected result is cleaner waterways and beaches, which will benefit all Wareham residents and all Wareham businesses. It's not just for our neighborhood. But the cost of this project is being unfairly borne by our neighborhoods, which is about 1.2% of the entire town population. 22,000 people and I don't know the number of businesses are benefiting, but we're paying for it, and that's not fair. And I don't think the businesses are even being touched in this. I mean, maybe there could be a small surtax or something. For them, it could be very small and still have a big impact on the overall cost. And, I mean, I would just ask that you do try to think of the taxpayers and when you make these decisions and try to help us. This is a very hard burden for a lot of people. There's a lot of fixed income folks in these neighborhoods, and it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for these people to afford this. So please, just try to consider that in your decisions and try to be creative and help us find a way to pay for this besides putting it all on this 1.2%. Thank you.
Agree. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Ma'am? Oh, sir?
Kevin Ricos, I'm from the Cremisa Sewer Project as well. You know, we've been talking about the betterments, and that's just not the total package. You've got your betterment. Doesn't include tying into the system from the home to the pipe. Doesn't include, you know, filling in your septic system. Doesn't include the permit that we're going to be charged. Doesn't include financing for those of us that are going to need to finance. On top of that, you've got, I'm not even sure what the sewer, you know, monthly or whatever it is, yearly bill is, but I'm assuming, you know, $600-800 now. 20 years down the road, that's probably going to be $1,600-1,800 a month or a year. So it's not just, you know, an extra 1,000 or, you know, 1,500 per year that we're paying over the next 20 years. You're talking, you know, $2,000, 2,500 over the course per year over the course of the 20 years. That's my taxes. That's what I pay in taxes. That's a 100% increase in taxes that, you know, unsewered areas don't have to pay. That's craziness, in my opinion. I think, you know, the town really needs to step up and do something about this. You know, it was voted down there. I think we have another opportunity to you know, bring it forward again. And I think the town really needs to step up and do something about this and stop this madness. Because, you know, it's 22 now. What was Mayflower Ridge or whatever, Agawam Beach, 35. What's the next one going to be? 50, 60? You know, we can't do this. You know, people that made decisions, and you know, I don't know how you feel about it, but you know, previous boards, you know, said, hey, let's move forward and do this. Let's do this. You know, 10,000, 15. Hey, you know, that's not bad. When it started getting out of control, and they knew what those numbers were going to be, they looked at the estimates, and they signed off on that. That's an injustice to us, you know. And I know, you know, I read the papers and stuff, and I see, you know, how they feel about things, and some of them, you know, nitrogen, let's get everybody, you know what I mean? And it's the town needs to stop this.
Thank
and
you.
do something about it.
Thank you very much. Ma'am?
Hi, I'm a summer resident, which I don't think you've heard from the summer resident.
Oh, just make sure you speak right into that piece there. Yeah, switch chairs. There you go. Introduce yourself,
My
please.
name is Marilyn Jordan, and I live at 25 Sippican Road, and I've been a summer resident in this town since, well, I've owned property since 1973, and I've been coming here since 1955 at Swifts Beach. And over the years, things have changed dramatically. And I just want to say that where I am in Cremisa, 50% of those homes are vacant in the winter. They're summer residents only. They're small cottages. Some of them don't have heat. But yet we pay our full, and always have paid our full property taxes every year. We pay a water fee for water that's shut off in the street 40 weeks of the year, but we still pay a water usage tax. And now with the betterment, we're going to pay the full betterment, even though we're only there 12 weeks of the year, and we will pay approximately 40 weeks out of the year, no sewerage will be going from any of those houses. So in my mind, looking at that, since this project, you're going to be having maintenance down at the sewer department and chemicals, but only will you be at capacity 12 weeks, because in our area anyway, 50% of us won't be there the rest of the year. So I can't understand why this town, because it has such an influx of summer residents, is not floating in dough. I mean, you've had the summer residents, which most cities and towns don't have, that have been a cash cow for this town for 50 years that I've been here. I mean, it is somewhat depressed in the winter time, and yet here we are with this. Now, my point, I guess, on all of this is the enterprise fund should have cash reserves. Where do they go? Are they being diverted into the general fund? Why have we never had from the very beginning a true and full accounting? There must be a spreadsheet somewhere or there should be, that accounts for every paperclip used in this, whether it was administrative costs, whether it was maintenance costs, construction costs, linear foot for each pipe that went in. We've never seen any of this, but yet the enterprise fund is our money, directly our money, not the town's taxpayers' money, although we are taxpayers as well, but our money. And you've never given us a receipt for anything. You should give us these huge figures, but with no breakdowns, that this was so much for administration, this was so much for paperwork. And I think it leads the people to believe that the funds are being diverted maybe into the general fund. And I know that's been done in the past for administrative, which was a little bit, not, I won't say this board did it because you weren't there, but it was diverted, funds were diverted, which should have stayed in the retained earnings fund and not been shoveled someplace else under the guise of administration. And we're worried that this is happening again. And we're worried that you're pushing shortfalls from a Parkwood project or a Rosewood project forward because you don't have all the money, your capital. It's being run very poorly, is what I guess I'm trying to say, that enterprise fund. You're pushing shortfalls forward. And then each project, as it goes along, has to absorb some of those funds. An enterprise fund should be self-sufficient. I don't think the previous town fathers had the foresight to look 15 years down the road and say, okay, this is how much we're going to need. Where are we going to get it? Because, frankly, you can't get it off the backs of some of these neighborhoods because you're bankrupting them. It's just too much money. And if we all spread it out over 20 years, that enterprise fund is going to implode. It's just not going to cover your costs for any future projects if we all spread it out, because there's just not enough money. It's only for those, if we all pay it up front, you're golden. But if the bulk of us go a 20-year stretch, you're not. So you've got to come up with a new way of funding this. The enterprise fund's perfect, except for there's no oversight. the fox is guarding the hen house. You've got a finance committee, you guys, you've got your all kinds of administrative people. What in the heck are they doing? They're certainly not watching the checkbook. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Sir?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Bob Russo, Precinct 2. I have a question. Am I correct that the special town meeting is going to be held on Monday the 21st?
It would be, yes.
Okay, I guess my concern is that that is the same evening by bylaw that the Onset Fire District will be holding its annual meeting also.
That's correct.
And I know there's a conflict here, and I don't know if the thing was done to try and resolve it, but to me it seems somewhat unfair that
Mr. Russo, before you go down that road, I can tell you that the town moderator met with the district, and I know I have it on one of these pieces of paper somewhere, but the district meeting, I think, is beginning at 7, and the town meeting is 8.
At 8.
8.
Okay. My only concern was that there are
They did get together, and
usually
I think originally it was 7:30, but the
district
town meeting is going to be at 8.
Usually the district meeting lasts more than an hour. I mean, there are about 35, 36, or 37 articles if I was looking in the... My concern is that people in Precinct 2 and quite a few in Precinct 3 could lose their right to attend both meetings if they were in conflict with each other. And I don't know if anything had been thought about trying...
I know the moderator's been working with the district, and that's... Mr. Foster, you have anything to add? Any later information? I think the meeting starts at 8. Correct?
I believe there was an issue with the posting of the meeting. I think on one form you had 7 o'clock, and another form it was listed as 8 o'clock or 7:30. So it's 7:30. So they're going to open the meeting at 7, and I actually don't know what they're planning on doing. They're going
I think she's going to start at 8.
Yeah, the action isn't going to start until later on in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll send a note to the moderator to make sure that she gets as much information out as possible. Anybody else? Okay.
Mr. Chair, next we have the Westfield discussion. I don't see anybody here for the Westfield discussion. Do we have an update from...
Yeah, basically at this point, everyone had an opportunity to answer. I think it was Mr. Sullivan who put out that email on the final draft, and those changes were made. Come on up, John. And there were 2 issues over the ball field.
the ball fields and...
The menu for the ball field.
The pumping station, I believe. We're waiting.
That was resolved.
Correct. I had emailed, solicited the questions from the Board of Selectmen, received them, forwarded them on to Mr. Haney, and he also responded on those with a fairly fast and lengthy email, so he's thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, I think it was today. I think I saw an email today, this morning. Was it this morning we got it?
Yes,
Have you got it?
I have it here.
Yesterday. Is there anything in there, Alan, that we need to...
Well, I noticed that Mr. Haney responded to my issue, and he said the Westfield Committee agreed to present 2 options, and I attended that meeting, and that wasn't so. They had voted, and the majority had voted to change the language.
We voted.
And we voted on that. So where does that stand, Mr. Sullivan? Are we waiting from Mr. Haney? Or, I mean...
I thought we were done.
So the language will be what, under the ball fields?
My understanding was whatever had been sent from the selectmen is what he's putting in there. I can clarify that with him via email or reach out to him just to make sure on that as well.
Because it was the menu. If I recall, it was I don't have the paper in front of me, but it was the menu. Correct? The ball fields.
Well, the ball fields we had discussed, and as had the Westfield Committee, and the Westfield Committee had voted in the majority to say to remove the recreational field language and replace with one field according to Babe Ruth standards and one field according to American Little League standards.
I was going to say Babe Ruth.
Correct.
Oh,
That was it.
Mhm.
And then it's ready to go to the TA, put out, change the literature in the back with Rich, dates, et cetera, put it out. So,
what I'll reach out to Mr. Haney tomorrow, make sure that's all been added on there. Maybe get out to the board the final copy before it go to
Okay,
the
That'd be great.
TA.
we need to get this done this week. There wasn't much left. Pumping station issues were all addressed by Mr. Campino. Let's get this thing into the TA's hands and get it out the door this week, or by Tuesday. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chair, consent agenda, the authorization to sign bills and documents. We do not have any bills to sign this week. However, we do have some minutes to approve. I move that we approve the executive session meeting minutes of April 24th, 2000, approve and hold the executive session meeting minutes of April 24th, 2012 as written.
Have a motion made by Mrs. Winslow. Second by Mr. Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 400.
I move that this board approve the regular session meeting minutes of April 17th, 2012 as written.
Motion made by Mr. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 400.
I move that we approve the regular session meeting minutes of April 30th, 2012 as written.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
We have reappointment interviews. I guess we'll go in order to the Board of Health. We are interviewing Dr. Vigant. Got it right. Come on up.
Good evening.
Dr. Vigant, as the board knows, was appointed in February to fill a vacancy for a full membership. However, that vacancy expires at the end of June 2012, and she has expressed interest in being reappointed. How would you like to handle this, Mr. Chair?
Questions from the board? We'll start with Mrs. Begley.
Oh, sure. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
So it's going well so far, I think.
Hope so.
Do you have any concerns or?
I don't have any real concerns. It's a lot to learn initially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different from what I do every day.
Yeah, it's quite a bit different than just kind of, I found, than just, my background, as you know, is medicine as well, and it's so much more. But you're doing a great job.
Mrs. Winslow?
Have you been able to coordinate the meeting times with your schedule?
It's working out fine. Things
Okay,
have
good.
changed. That's not a problem.
Good.
She's been there.
Great. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Slavin? No. Is it all you thought it would be, Doctor?
And more.
And
And more. Oh, that's a good sign, isn't it? It's good. It's good to volunteer. No, and just so that the public is noting that we didn't just drag all these people in from their homes tonight to talk, but the board felt that as best we could to get everybody in so that people know who you are. We have new members of the board. One member still waiting. Many of the members didn't appoint the folks, so we thought it would be nice to come in and get all these interviews out of the way so everybody can see. And if you have any comments about the board you're serving on, that would be great. But that's all I have for questions. As long as you're smiling and you're happy, that's a good thing.
Yeah, hopefully we can use our website, which is to educate a little bit more of the public. And so if there are issues the public would like to get educated on from the Board of Health, I think we can use then some of that. That's one of my little things we're going to try and do. So hopefully that'll help.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Mrs. Begley?
I noticed that Dr. Vigant had expressed that during a Board of Health meeting, to utilize the website. For example, they had 4 trash haulers, and there was a big discussion about recycling, and In fact, I didn't realize that we had one trash hauler that is a pay-as-you-go, and asked that that be put on their website, which might be helpful for people that are summer residents that can pay weekly, and they still recycle, as do all our trash haulers, without an additional charge. So there's been a number of issues that have come up that would have been helpful having something on the website. So I absolutely agree with you.
Well, I think that, you're a board, you're an autonomous board, and I don't know if you have the pleasure of knowing Mr. Underhill. Do you know him? Matt Underhill? You don't know him? That's okay, you can say no. He's our IT director, and you can work through Mr. Foster, or Mr. Foster may give you a direct lead right to Mr. Underhill, and he's more than happy to update websites and put any information out there. And he's very quick about it, too. So
Right.
if you jot that name down, Matt Underhill, Mr. Foster, I'm sure, would be more than happy to coordinate that discussion, and Matt would be more than happy to put anything you want up.
Great.
It'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Anything
me come.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for serving.
Thank you for having me
Okay.
come.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. I noticed, because I had asked Janet, she said that she had notified everyone that was going to have their terms expire on June 30th, and there were 2 other members on the Board of Health.
Right.
Have we not heard from them?
We have. See, it's almost a coordination nightmare that we're trying to get through.
Oh, I understand.
Because we have all these names of folks who are renewing, or who are open, right? So then the question is, we sent out the emails to say, are you interested? And as those people are coming back to say, hey, I'm interested in renewing, she's then coordinating a meeting to get him in here on a Tuesday. So not everybody responds at once, so it's a little bit of a nightmare. But as the names are coming in, every Tuesday night, we're going to do some.
Okay.
So that hopefully by the end of the expiration, everyone will have come in.
Great, thank you.
Next.
Next, we have interviews for the Community and Economic Development Authority.
Sir?
Joe Mulkern, my name should be on the list there for the alternate position on the Board of Health.
Oh, these are reappointments.
These are people who are
He's a reappointment.
Sandra Bessie.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you have to pull that down, Sandy.
Mrs. Begley.
Couldn't remember my name there for a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say Mrs. Bessie, but okay,
B's.
go ahead.
It's the BEs. How are you, Sandy?
I'm fine, thank you.
How long have you served on the CETA board?
Maybe 10 years or so.
Wow, really?
From
So
when
you've
it
seen a lot.
started way back.
You've seen a lot of changes in town.
It's good things.
Yes, yes.
Why, excuse me, why are people doing that to you this week?
What?
We had our meeting last night, and there were some postcards, and they went back many years. And who did we ask?
Sandy, of course.
Sandy. Of course, I look older than you, so I've taken that around today.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. You're more than welcome.
Our
Please
local
continue.
historian. Do you have any concerns? Do you have good news? Well, I mean, this is
We're
your
working
time.
on some wonderful projects, and they're going along well. I'm very excited about it. We'll be looking at some of the new projects as they come up. I think it's a great opportunity for our town to be able to do these things with the CETA board. I'm very pleased.
I had the wonderful opportunity of attending some of your sessions, your public hearings and sessions that you had. And just so that people know, the concern of the CETA board is that a lot of the social services have increased need. So the food pantries, people needing loans to help them with, say, their septic systems, et cetera, et cetera. And for those that may wonder why more monies aren't allocated to that, there's a certain formula that you have to abide by for the grant funds.
Yes.
So only a certain percentage can go to social services, and then a certain percentage towards economic development, and a certain percentage, et cetera, et cetera. So for those that see an increased need and wonder why there aren't increased funds, not only are you restricted by a formula, but the funds, the grant funding that we received this year was less than previous years. So just to clarify, so people don't think that all of the monies are going into one project. They're not. You have a formula, and so a certain percentage goes to all the areas that you serve, just to clarify.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Winslow?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Slavin?
Hi, how are you? No questions at all. I've worked with everybody in the CETA board for a couple of years, so there's no surprises for me.
And I'll put you on the spot, being a couple of people from the Republic of Onset, as we are. The new appointment of Mr. Pina. Your thoughts as someone who sat through many regimes on the CETA board. First 30-day look at it. Does it seem exciting, about the same?
I am incredibly impressed. He has wonderful ideas. He has many, many interests, and he is an incredibly positive person with what he's doing. And I think we are really, as he goes along and is able to work on the different projects, I think we're going to see some amazing changes.
I agree.
Excellent.
I agree. Okay, anything else? Thank you, Mrs. Bessie, and we appreciate your service.
Thank you.
You have a great evening.
Mr. Fichtenmeyer, did I say that right?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
You're wearing tiger red on a Tuesday. Tiger red's only for Sundays. Okay. Mrs. Begley?
I guess we're going to go in the same order.
You want me to switch?
I'm going to call you Bob, if that's okay.
Please do.
Bob, how long have you served on the board?
This will be my second term coming.
Oh, good, good. So there's a lot of consistency on the board. That's helpful. To ask, how do you see things, how are they going on the board for you?
It's been a very educational ride.
Mm-hmm.
I did attend a meeting last night with our new director.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we give him full support, I think there's great things going to happen. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. I agree. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Winslow?
Have you enjoyed your first term on the board? Have you been able to make the meetings and devote the time that you felt was necessary?
I work several jobs. I have making my time available for the town. I'm a volunteer. My intention is to be at every meeting as possible.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, are the times and days
Nope,
working?
times are fine.
Okay.
Everything works out good.
Good, good. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Slavin?
No, how are you? And
Alan, how are
everything
you?
is fine.
No, and I think, I'll
good.
just reiterate Bob's comments. I think I made them to him last night as well, that I thought that last night was, in my 2 years working with Cedar, that I thought last night was the best meeting I ever attended. And I think with the board's support and the town's support, that this board and Mr. Pina are going to take us and help us to get to some great places. So it's a real exciting time, I can say that. And Bob, thank you very much. I know you have tight schedules, and I was teasing you about the shirt, by the way. But it is tiger red on
Hey,
Sundays.
at least I changed it from last night. It was fine.
And thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, people.
Thank you.
Have a good night. And thank you for coming in. It's 2 days in a row for some of these folks. Mrs. Winslow?
On the Conservation Commission,
Yep.
Mrs. Slavin couldn't make it this evening. We have Mr. Mulkern, who's an associate member.
Just a point of order there, I looked at my card, I was wrong. I was informed by the selectman's office that I have 1 more year to go, so I'm pretty close to that.
Right. And yeah.
That's for the Commission on Disability, sir. This is the Conservation Commission. Yes, so you're up in June. Yes. Did you want to reapply for it, or?
Yes, I'd like to reapply. It's a very interesting board to sit on. They have some very knowledgeable people working on it, and I guess they're pretty fair with people. I mean, a lot of people don't understand when you live on the water's edges that you're not supposed to go down and start cutting trees down and things. But that's the sad thing when you have to start fining people for doing things illegally. But I've learned a lot in the almost 2 years I've been on the commission as an alternate member, and I appreciate being reappointed again. Thank you.
Spegley?
I don't think I have any questions for you, Joe. You've been attending all the meetings,
Yes.
and has it? What's impressed you the most?
The knowledge that the members have of town. I've only been here 3 years, and I've gone out on quite a few walks, and we have an amazing lot of land that the conservation controls and keeps track of, and the members are very knowledgeable, and I learned a lot from them, and I probably will learn a lot more in my years with them in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Slavin? All set. Okay, Joe, thank you very much. And thank you again for your service.
Okay, I'm up here also for the.
I hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoy all this work, because the town appreciates it.
Okay. Well, I'm also on the Disability Commission, so should I just sit here for that, or?
Well,
No, that doesn't
13th.
expire till next year.
Right.
Oh, that's next time too.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Kathleen Moore-Minkle couldn't make it tonight, so she'll be rescheduled. Ms. Gady for the Recycling Committee couldn't make it tonight, so she will be rescheduled. And do we have Wilma Engerman?
She is here. See, now this is the case.
Here she comes.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, I'll start. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm here.
Yes. Now, how long have you been involved with the zoning Board of Appeals?
This will be my 6th year.
Wow, as an associate?
Yes.
Oh, dear. Do you have, and I see you there. When I go, you're there. Do you have any concerns or
No, I don't have
anything
any.
you want to share about your
6
this'll be your
years?
6 years?
I've learned a lot in 6
Yes,
years.
yes.
And I learned, every meeting I learned something new.
It's quite an active board, that's
Yes,
for sure.
it is. And we really do have a say in what goes on in the town.
Mhm.
And the people should realize that if they come before us, it's because they have to.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Mrs. Winslow?
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I love the color of your shirt. I have to tell you. My daughter and I have been looking at purples for her room, and that's one of my favorites. I don't really have any questions. I mean, as long as everything seems to be working out and it's convenient for you, and
Oh, everything's fine.
good.
Mr. Slavin?
Hi, Wilma.
Hello.
Basically, just so everybody understands, I've been a volunteer in the town for quite a while, and I've been on 6 or 7 boards almost at the same time. Most people coming up before us I know firsthand, so I will not make very many comments because everybody does a very good job, and it's a lot of work, and I appreciate what everybody does. Thank you.
Well,
It's just, I think it's just great to see you up and about,
thank you.
and you're looking better than ever. And I'm just thankful that you're able to serve, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, that would conclude our reappointment interviews to the various boards for this evening, and now we are on to number 7, licenses and permits, a change of manager for Chili's. Is there somebody here representing Chili's? And I would like to apologize to the gentleman who's here. There was an error last week with the sending of the notice with town meeting, and we're very sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
We did try to have the interim town administrator and the financial analyst reach you, so I hope you didn't come all the way out here.
I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, he did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you come here?
I did
You
not.
were here? Oh, good, good, good.
Oh, so they were able to reach you.
Yes.
Oh.
Through email, yes.
Oh, good, good, okay. So this is a change of manager, and I have the folder here. I believe last week that we were missing the TIPS training.
I do have the Surf Safe Alcohol certification.
That might be what it is. You're changing from, who's the current manager?
Currently, I am the general manager.
Okay, and you're leaving?
I am not. I'm taking over for Josh T-Balt.
Okay, so he's leaving, and you're taking his
Position. Correct.
Oh, okay, I thought you said you were the general manager.
I am.
Okay.
Currently. I have been for the last...
You haven't already done that because it hasn't been approved yet. So you're going to take his position.
Fair enough.
Oh, dear.
Okay. So the only thing that was missing from the file was and everything else came back fine, just so everybody knows. Do you have a copy of your training with you? It's a little bit different from TIPS training, but I'm wondering if it's the same thing.
Serve Safe Advanced Certificate. It's the same thing.
Just a different
Isn't
name,
it?
I think.
Well, it'll have to go to Shirley, so we could probably approve it.
Do you want to take a look at that, Mr. Chair?
CPT, ACS, TCP.
And that class had to do with not over-serving things.
Correct. Responsible alcohol service.
Right.
How to red light, green light, how to stop, how to start, how many drinks a person at certain weights can have, consumption of foods, all of it.
Okay. So this is your 15 seconds of fame if you want to talk to us about your restaurant and what you're going to be doing. And
not really a whole lot's changing. I mean, things seem to be picking up. I do have some concerns with Walmart moving out, what that's going to do to the area. I'd like a little feedback on that, if there's anything on somebody coming into that particular location once they're gone, all that. But for the most part, I mean, the guests here in Wareham are great. Sales have increased. My guest counts are up. For the most part, everything's pretty positive.
they have great chicken fingers.
Thank you. Ham dipped and battered each one.
Yes, yes. And those little pepper tickets for the kids are great too.
Pepper Pals, yes.
Yes.
Any questions from the board, Mr. Slavin? None. Mrs. Begley? Motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the change of manager at Chili's to... Sorry, I just lost that page. From Joshua Tebow to Alan L. Dennison.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded by Mrs. Begley. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 0. Abstained? 0. 400. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
You can...
Thank you.
Is this your original?
No.
Oh, it's okay. Can I put it in the file?
Please do.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Campino.
I'm gonna. I just put a bunch of stuff for you. Yeah, and then I'll give you these.
Okay.
Okay, we're on to SOAR business. which would be Mr. Campina.
Good evening.
Mr. Campina, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Your first order of business is some abatements. If you want to run through those for the board, please.
Yes. I don't know what order you particularly have them on. I'm going to go the order I have, or you can tell me what you have, and I'll follow you. But
Well, the first thing we have is the SOAR abatements.
yes,
Do you want a copy of the agenda?
I don't. It would probably help. I don't have the actual. It says agenda. I have all the abatements here. What I don't have is
Starts with 2895.
I have account number 735228. That's where I start. So that's what I was wondering how you wanted to do this.
73 what?
My first account. I have them by account numbers,
Yeah.
Right, as do we.
and it's 735228.
Wait a minute, it's one of them. I don't see 735228 at all.
Mr. Chair, before we begin this exercise, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, here it is.
None of these abatements are going to fall into these categories of policy issues and stuff, correct?
Every one of these abatements are pretty straightforward. We're
Okay.
talking about water policies. They've been off for 1 year.
What's the address, Mr. Campina?
735228 is 23 West Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, there it is. 73228.
No.
735228.
Right.
Says 73228.
That's why we're missing a number on
Okay,
the
you're
sheet.
missing a digit? Sorry.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, on the cover sheet, the 5 is missing.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. 735228.
Yes, it's a straightforward 1 year off. The water was shut off June 17th, 2010. June 17th, 2011 is their 1 year, met the criteria. So we're asking for an abatement of $298. The water is shut off. The document supports that by the Water Department. So it's a straightforward abatement. The 735228 will be put on hold upon
Questions from the
approval.
board?
I don't have any questions.
Motion?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the abatement for account number 73528.
228.
73228?
No.
No.
735228.
73528.
Right.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow, seconded by Mr. Slavin. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 400. Next account.
What I have is 737-329. It should be on it's on the same sheet for me, but it's 737-392 and 737-393. This is a fire downtown Wareham. We have a letter that supports this from the Special Services. Property is closed, uninhabitable.
Hasn't been off for a year.
It doesn't have to be.
Under the bylaws, doesn't it?
Correct. It doesn't have to be. As I understand it, what happens, I read it, it just simply says when you have a fire or some other type of natural disaster, the building inspection goes in there, deems it inhabitable at that point in time. The property is closed, boarded up, and then they ask that all utilities be disconnected, water has, sewer has. So at that point, we stop the account. And this happened, I believe, the date here is November 2011, so the abatement is for second half 2012, and it's an amount of $149 and also $1788. So we're asking for those abatements to the individual who owns this property.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the abatement for 298 Main Street, account numbers 737-392 and 737-393 D&D Realty, in the amounts of $149 and $1,788 respectively for FY12 second half.
We have a motion made by Mrs. Winslow, seconded by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 400. Mr. Campina?
737085 is my next. It's TRT Wareham LLC. This is the old Friendlies.
When was the water shut off?
November 2010. So November 2011 makes their full year. So after that period, they're allowed an abatement, and so that's an amount of $566.20. Second half 2012 sewer.
Questions?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the abatement for 2895 Cranberry Highway, account number 737085, TRT Wareham LLC, in the amount of $556.20, which is FY12 second half, December and January 2012.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow. Second by Mr. Slavin. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? 400. Mr. Campino?
739160. Again, H2O criteria. The water was shut off 2010 of October. 2011 October completed his year. And from that point on, he's entitled to abatement of his last bill. That's 149.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the abatement for 39 Cleveland Way, account number 739160, Howard Wetzel, in the amount of $149 for FY12, 3 months of the second half.
Motion made by Mr. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstained? 400. Mr. Campino?
736055, 8 Dale Ave in Onset. This is a particular piece of property that had 2 dwellings on it. One dwelling has been off for quite some time. However, he's only entitled for the 1 year. It's been off actually September 30th, 29. We can't go back that far, so we're going to go back. We give him 2010, September 30th, and we bring it forward to 2011, and we'll give him abatement of $596. He meets because of the, so we have to go back 1 year. You can only get 1 year, not the 2 he asked for.
What was that? The account number on that again?
736055. And he had 2 properties. One he shut off in 29. The other one he's still using. So what we'll do is we'll abate the one of the properties, and I believe it's the house, and then there's another smaller house. But one will go off, the other one will stay on. So we'll keep billing for that one that's being used. The other one hasn't been used since 2009.
Questions from the board? Mrs. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Guy, this property is charged for 2 EDUs?
Yes, ma'am.
So, does one arm come off the sewer to serve both those properties, or were they wide in?
They're individual. For some reason, they were done individually quite a while ago. So he has 2 laterals that come to the 2 lines that, let me understand your question. He has 1 lateral at the street, 2 lines go to lateral, absolutely. That's how it's done on the 2-family.
So he'll be, going forward, just charge the 1 EDU?
Correct, because only one's online will charge him that one, and the other one will not charge him any longer.
So it's not wide, it's 2 separate laterals, so...
Correct. 2 separate laterals come into 1 Y in our property. On his property, he has 2 separate laterals come into Y on the 10-foot buffer to our lateral. So we have 2 separate services, if you will. So if one plugs, they both don't plug. And he has 2 water services, so it's 2 separate. Yes, he has 2 water services.
Shut off to 1.
Correct. He has 2 separate water services.
Okay.
And the service has been off since 2009, and because he's active now, I can't go back to 2000. I can give him 1 year, which is 2010 to now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Slavin?
Guy, do we have 2 properties on 1 lot?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't ask me how, but yes. We have quite a few of those in Onset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
My neighbor has 2.
Yeah, it's just so that's the way it is.
And we have one piece coming out for the Y coming out into the property with
Right,
2
we have
separate units.
2 separate laterals come into 1 Y. It's been done. We also have one particular property. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but they're asking for separate billing, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stick
another
to
day.
And the second property is no longer being used?
Yes, one property is not being used, the other ones continue to be used. So we're abating one. We won't put the account on hold. We'll just reduce the EDU from 2 to 1.
Understand. Thank you.
Zoning?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion.
She is here. Any other questions?
I make a motion to approve the abatement for 8 Dale Ave, account number 736055, Donald and Palma Sandrelli, in the amount of $596 for FY 2012.
Motion made by Mrs. Winslow, second by Mr. Slavin. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 400.
And that brings us to the highlight of the evening, Mr. Campina.
Yes.
You have one more?
No, that's if I have
No, that's
abatements. If there's one I don't have it.
So the other one, so this is going to be on, Dusty is on 5/15.
5:15.
Right. Originally, we were trying to get it in, but we'll get it 5:15. I think Shirley told us that it'd be on at 5:15, so we'll deal with it
I
then.
just want to make sure.
That'll
Because
come
it
back.
ended up in this week's packet.
The betterment for contract number 2, Mr. Campina.
Have a good evening. All right, Mr. Campina.
It's,
Do you-
go
and
ahead.
by the way, before you start, do you have the original? Did you ever find any paperwork on the original estimate?
I have quite a few, and I don't know what the original is, but the original one was
Oh,
22,000.
somebody's waving in paper. Okay, somebody has it. Good.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
was
good. Then go ahead and
22,300.
proceed. What was the number on that, sir, if you don't mind? I'm going outside my own rules by asking somebody in a chair a question, but it's okay for this one time. 22115. Thank you, sir.
And I have one that's 22238. So there's been some, but 22,000 would be a fair number, is what rounded off.
Let's walk through this.
Okay. What we did
And
here.
again, and before you do that, let me just again share the intentions of what the plan would be moving forward. Now that he has the numbers, and we're going to talk about them a little bit this evening.
But we're not going to set a betterment tonight, correct?
That we're not setting a betterment,
Okay.
no. But what we're going to do is now put this into play. That we're going to have a meeting with all the residents. All this will be explained. Sewer commissioners will have to discuss exactly what the betterment fee is going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How the process works. In postcards, we have to send the postcards, I think, to provide notification. But we hope to be able to do this education piece and timelines and when do you have to pay and what has to be done in person in a meeting. So, Mr. Campina, now you can go ahead.
We have supporting document for every one of these lines, so when the time comes that you need the supporting document, we'll provide it, so you'll have it. These are the line items. The first one, we talked about the total design. We took Cremisa and Oakdale, and those are the costs for design, which equals that one number. It's $461,960 is the design total. That's for both parts of it, Oakdale and Cremisa. Then there was the SRF fund application, $7,333. Yes, that was the. Yes, SRF is the revolving fund, state revolving fund. It's the abatement trust that we actually physically borrow the money from. And what they did is they took the total cost of borrowing, divided it over the projects, and each project is assessed $7,333. So that's that assessment there.
Just on that one,
Yeah.
is that how the percentage on the loans is determined, Mr. Foster? Is from this fund?
Yes.
The loans, yeah, this is the original application that he's
Correct.
referring to. It's a 2% loan plus any additional fees that get assigned by your board.
Right. Just for clarification, I knew that, but I wasn't sure the listening audience knew that. Continue, please.
The actual construction costs were $4,725,885. That was submitted to us by CDM, and again, we have the original documentations of that. Policing for the police details was $256,131.44, and that was for the police details during the construction. The engineering, GS engineering is office engineering, personnel back at the office. That was $288,100. The resident engineer, go ahead. What it is back at the office. Yes, you have the office of CDM, which is two locations. One is in Boston, and one is in Rhode Island. In Rhode Island was Mike Judici, and in Boston was Tom Casey. Tom Casey was the project manager, and Mike Giudice was the stamp, the actual designer and stamper of the project.
Okay.
So that was their cost. So if there's any issues, they dealt with them, and that was their cost. The resident engineer was Chris Sharp. He was on site in Parkwood. He had a trailer. He was on site, and that was $641,000. That was for the on-site resident engineer. The easement costs was $25,400. That's the easements for the pump stations and some of the little strips of land we took throughout the Oakdale area. And again, we have that broken down to individual easements.
Can I ask a question on the appraisals?
On the what, ma'am?
Which is next, the appraisals?
Yes, go ahead.
Wasn't that part of one of the change orders?
The appraisal?
Yeah.
Part of it was because when you change, well, let me make sure I understand the question. When you say change orders, the appraisals had to do with any time we change from one side to the other side, relocating pump stations, land had to be appraised as we move forward. So that's part of the appraisals. I don't know if that answers your question specifically. And some of those were change orders. An example, pump station's located here. We decide to locate it here. That has to be appraised. So
I understand that, Mr. Campina, but when the project was originally designed, we knew where all the pump stations were going.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes, and they changed.
At some point in the project, we decided that we were going to move 3.
Yes.
We had a change order come before us. And as part of that change order, there was engineering costs, there was easement costs or land taking costs, whatever you want to call it, and appraisals.
And they were categorized individually. If you get a change order, what we did is these are actual bills. The appraisal bills what were paid to the appraiser himself, and that's that number.
I understand that, but here's my concern. The number, the original number is scratched off, and there's another number written in.
Correct.
What was the number on the change order?
I don't have the change order. These are actually built. What I did is I contacted, first I went through municipal maintenance, then I contacted the town of Wareham Counting and got every bill paid to the appraiser himself, and that's that number.
So
that was not included when I talked to Mike Giudice. That number was not included into his change orders. So I had to add them in.
What do you mean?
When he did a change order for relocating a pump station, it may have been for pipe, different elevation. It was change orders for the electricity going from 3-phase to 2-phase and all those things. But in that number for the change order, appraisal was not included. That was done separately through the attorney, through the appraisal department. So in the change orders you signed, appraisal was not part of it.
So we signed a change order that authorized expenditure of a certain amount of dollars, even though the truth of the matter was that the change order was going to cost us more.
Yes, the appraisal was set.
How can that be?
Well, I don't know, but
I'd like to get an answer from Mr. Giudice on that.
Absolutely.
I asked Mr. Giudice that night if this was what it was going to cost to move those 3 pump stations. And I've read the meeting minutes and I've watched the meeting, and I was very clear with him, and he never made mention of an appraisal fee or anything else. He said, this is it. This is what it's going to cost.
And that's his cost, and the other cost from the attorneys is where they get the appraisal. So he may have said this is our cost.
But we wouldn't have had this cost if we weren't moving the 3 pump stations, and it should have been part of the change order. That's not your fault, I understand that, but I'd like Mr. Giudice to explain to me why he would not have brought that to our attention.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll get that question answered. I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Okay, so the cost was $8,200, and that's for all the appraisals that we paid to Lyman, who's the actual appraiser hired by the attorney, Mr. Deshays. So that's where that number came from. The lawyer costs, lawyer fees expended, actually spent was $34,379.25. To complete the project, it's going to be $2,700 for cost of registering, and he's got. And you can see in the bottom he's got the fees: betterment plan recording, betterment fee, land court filing fee. Those numbers are $438. So cost per attorney was the $34,379.25, the $2,700, and the actual $438. So that's where you get your attorney fees for the project.
Mrs. Begley, question?
Yes. Mr. Campina.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is there a bill for attorneys for $34,000?
Well, I have a thick billable hours. I can't answer the question. I was just trying to get fees. You'd have to talk to the attorney. I don't know why. But I have the things that he does, which is search this out, search that out, do the easements, and I have it itemized. I don't think I have it with me, but I have an itemized bill. It's the attorney's bill. And as you go to the itemized example, draft memo to John Sansnet regarding alternate A site, telephone conference with Peener regarding sewer line, conference register deeds, being at the register deeds, review plans with Mike Judici.
Who's
review
the
proposal-
attorney for this project?
Mark DeShays, from Perry Hicks and DeShays.
Well, that was my question.
Perry Hicks,
I think I
Friday
commented
and
last week
DeShays.
that was one of the issues that he was missing. And I commented, I think, last week that that number, is that an 84 or 34?
What's that?
34.
Yeah, this is,
I mean,
we've been going back and forth on this, so.
as we go on, I mean, are none of these, do we just get a bill and pay it? Do we ever negotiate any of this money? Or we just say, oh, okay, it's over? Or, okay, you know, the estimated attorney fees was 20,000, but it's 34,000, okay. Do we ever, like, negotiate any of these funds?
Well, Mr. Chair, can I respond to that? Because I don't have any recollection of ever approving payment of an attorney bill on the SOAR project.
I think my comment would be without the project was negotiated back some time ago. And I'm sure as part of that number, 5 million, whatever it was, and in that stage of the signing of the agreement, I would say that there were estimates in that agreement for lawyers and appraisals and easements and.
There was.
Yeah.
And when John Sansnet put this together many years ago, and I think 2008, 2000, I'm not sure. However, it had all these numbers. That's why he estimated to be $22,100 and something dollars. And in that number was an attorney fee, and that number was policing. All these things you have here was in that number.
So my answer would be, without actually having Mr. Judici here, would be that when that board voted for that contract, they authorized CDM to act on our behalf and run the project.
And CDM was in contact
So
with
they
Mr.
didn't come
DeShays.
here. They didn't come here every time a lawyer submitted a bill. No.
But I think, Mr. Chair, that my point, and perhaps Mrs. Begley's point is also, is that, as somebody said earlier, who's watching the hen house? If an attorney is just going to submit bills and somebody's going to pay them, we're the SOAR commissioners. Whether this board made the decision to embark on this project and approved those numbers, or 2 or 3 boards ago, we own this decision. We're responsible for it, and it's ours now. And we should have known about those legal bills. Who's been paying them?
I'm not so sure if they were in the recs or not. I'm trying to go through. I have a bunch of recs that was signed by the board as the project went along, and I haven't vetted the recs because there's a lot of categories, and I'll see if they're in there, and that could get some of the answers to our questions. They may not have been broken out for us, so I'll find out if they were not, and then in the future, if we do something like this, then we need to break those numbers out. I don't have any specific answers for you. I've just been trying to get numbers, and that's what I'm doing, and I can't explain to you how and why, but I got a feeling that it was in some rec somewhere.
But whose bill was it in?
I'm thinking CDM, because CDM is the overseer of the project.
And they're the ones that are paying these legal bills? Because I read
No,
every...
the legal bills are being paid by, I see them listed on the town accountant's report, so I can't answer if they're within numbers, but the town accountant's been sending out these bills, or however we're doing, but yes, that's where this number comes from.
Mr. Chair, our policies are very clear that this board approves payment to any legal services. We brought this up 6 months ago. We started putting them on the agenda. We're the SOAR commissioners. Legal bills should not have been paid on behalf of a SOAR project without our approval. I just want that noted for the record.
Yeah. And these were back to 2010. Majority of them are 2010. Then we get to 2011. And that's
Do you know what the estimated cost was in the original contract for legal fees?
No, ma'am.
That would be an interesting question, just to see if
Yes.
it doubled.
See how it matched
See if
up.
it doubled.
Yes.
Here's another question, because it's, I see that the total is $1,000,001. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. My question is this: with the mitigation issues, for example, tearing up the road, some people didn't like the way the road was reconstructed, they wanted it resurfaced, or someone said a truck bumped their fence, so they need who paid for that?
paid by Geosio, and I kind of answered the question. I mean, if Geosio bumped the fence and it was their cost, they paid for it. Didn't come out of the
What about
betterment.
the road? Like when people said, okay, we don't like the way they're, and I've seen it. I saw it happen. I saw where some roads were resurfaced, et cetera. So,
Well, some in contract 2, I can't specifically speak to, but in contract 1, some were paid by Chapter 90, some are still outstanding, so I can't answer that question. But for contract 2, there's been no issues. I mean, they've resurfaced, readjusted. It's all been in the original cost. There's been no added costs for those repairs that we've done. And if there's other repairs we're talking about, there will be no added costs. This is final. So if we go back there and redo Cherry Street, for example, and redesign it, there's no added cost, because that would be under the guarantee of the contractor. And that's some of the issues we're still vetting, accepting the system, because of some issues with asphalt that's breaking up on Avenue A, Cherry Street, and that has no bearing on this. When we get back to those issues and resolve those, if there's new asphalt to go down, that's coming, that's no cost to this project.
all right, what about equipment that has been?
Right, and if I might,
Yes.
Mrs. Spegley, on several of the meetings I sat on in the trailer, there were issues with some of the tar quality, right, coming out of Rochester.
I attended some after.
And those were resurfaced at
Absolutely.
no cost to the
No
town.
cost to us.
In this particular project, the town administrator, who just left, past San Jeanette now in recent history, they had worked some of that paving and curbing out of our street money, as opposed to this bill.
Yes, all right.
So there were Chapter 90 funds that were used on this project.
Absolutely, and those Chapter 90 funds for all the drainage, that was all Chapter 90 funds to
So if we
redo
hadn't
drainage and
used
to
that
increase
money,
it.
It would have,
That this, I don't think people realize
it would have
that.
been added on to this.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
All that work that was done, we used our town money instead of this money.
All right.
So it's not in here.
Well, Chapter 90, I understand to be federal money, but nonetheless, it was, other monies were used, especially.
Right, but if we had
specifically-
used our town money
We would have had to
on
pay
other
the-
town roads that
That's right,
were
it would have been
waiting,
in here.
it would be in here.
That's
This,
right.
this number would be higher.
That's right.
Thank
That's absolutely right.
Do you happen to know what the estimate was for the total cost?
Of what?
The estimate for the total cost of this project was
I bet
to
you,
start?
I bet you the gentleman in the back has it on that paper.
$22,111.
No,
No,
that's
no.
the betterment. I'm
The
asking for the
Cost? I don't have the
of
cost.
the project.
The original bid was
I don't want to go against my own rule again. I'm only going to allow you, sir. Do you have the answer to Mrs. Begley's question? I'll let you give it to her.
What was the original bid?
Estimate.
Estimate.
This is before stimulus funds,
Right.
6,574,425.
Can you repeat that slower? Just the number 65.
6,574,425. That's the total before any reductions.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I feel a little better.
Yes, so the bright side is we came in under.
I feel a little better.
Because the number now is 5,851,283.19. Add in the stimulus money, it still meets that original number. It's actually less than the original number.
Well, you already took the stimulus money out, correct?
Correct. The $745,802 is taking out.
What
And
was
that
our
consists-
total stimulus money?
745,000. 1.4 was the actual number. I have it here somewhere. The
This is
actual stimulus.
50%.
50%.
Yes, 50%.
Yes,
They
okay.
were split 50-50 between 1 and 2.
Thank you.
So that is significantly less. It is
Sorry?
under.
It's under, but it's still, we also have a few more properties than we anticipated that we had. You know, but it's a tough number in this economy for anybody, no doubt.
Our fundings was $1,491,600. $1,491,680. That was the
All
hour
right.
funding.
I'm sorry,
And the big
interrupted.
question,
Can-
the big question, Mr. Campina, in my mind right now, is there anything else that is going to add to this number?
Nothing, I have no inkling that anything else will add to this number. If anything changes, I would suggest to you maybe another property added, which would lower the betterment. There's one property we're trying to vet, but there's no other added. We've vetted all the costs, and how I got these numbers, yesterday I called all the people that had Mike Giudice, Mark Deshays, and I said, listen, if you don't get your numbers to me now, then you're not going to get paid later on. It was, a threat that probably had no merit, but the point was that I need numbers.
Oh,
if
no.
you don't get me numbers,
We're not
you're not
kidding.
getting paid. And so that's why these numbers started flying up until half an hour before I came. And this is why the adjustments as I came, the numbers started flying in to get paid. But I was very adamant because it was difficult getting numbers. And so I said, if you don't give me numbers, we're not paying you. So that's why we have the numbers that we have, and it took quite a long time.
I'm not, and just so you know, I'm not being disrespectful and ignoring my friend, but he's not allowed to talk.
Yes.
Okay? I didn't make him go in the other room. We're not voting on anything, and he's not talking.
Just for
'Cause
clarity.
he could go sit, he could go sit
Don't
in the
ask a
front-
question, Alan.
He could
No,
go
I'm
sit
not.
in the front row if he wants. But
Just for clarification, I have 2 properties in this project, and I cannot discuss it. Sorry.
So don't discuss it. You could go sit in the front row if you want and listen. 'Cause you're a
Mr.
public
Campini, can you
citizen.
finish the list? I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
we interrupted you.
We did
I
get up. Okay.
apologize.
We were just after the attorney fees.
After attorney
Advertising was $798.50. The betterment plan was done by a local engineer. It was $1,500. Short-term borrowing, $144,123. And again, the hour of debt forgiveness was $745,802. And that gives us a total cost of the project, $5,851,283.19. There were 273 properties in the project, and that gives us the betterment of $21,433.27.
That's the new estimate.
That's the new estimate.
I want to be clear because there are some numbers on here.
I'm sorry, I lied to you. Go down to the arrow.
Correct.
$21,434.87 or 88 cents. That reflects the new the 438. That was the
Okay.
last one. So
So everybody in the back's trying to write this down, so I'm going to say it very slowly.
The number is
$21,434.88. That's the new estimate.
That's the new estimate to the minute. And that's the final.
Because we have some questions about some of these bills that we need to get answered.
Correct. And everybody's been told that that's it. After tonight, we're not taking any more bills.
Now,
I don't know if that's legal, but that's what's been stated.
so the estimate.
Talk to Mr. Foster about the legality.
Yes, I'll talk about that's another day, another question, but that's what everybody's been told.
So the estimated betterment, way back when, that the gentleman gave us was $22,115. So this is coming just under that. Now, I had asked, Mr. Foster, I had asked you this question after that lovely last June meeting. If it was possible, because these can be financed over 20 years at 2%, correct? And I had asked you if it was possible that for those that it would certainly be a longer term, but was it possible to finance these over 30 years? And you had done a little bit of research.
The 30-year possibility, we would have to fill out documentation. It is possible. Obviously, the interest that would be associated with these loans would be substantially higher to the individuals. And at one point, special legislation was discussed on whether or not, I believe the town of Marion had 30-year betterments, so there's something that went along with that.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, they're scheduled to be 20-year betterments, maximum term.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Foster a question? Mr. Foster, can you work your calculator over there and figure what the average payment's going to be per? How do we do them, by quarter on a tax bill, or how does the?
They'll appear in the third and fourth quarter of their tax bills, of their real estate tax bills. If you take the $21,434.88 divided by 20, because they're even payments when you pay a betterment, they're even principal payments throughout the term. That's $1,071.74 principal payment. In the first year of the loan, which would be the highest interest of the loan, $21,434.88, and you've had 2% betterments, 2.5% betterments. It varied. I believe the last time you said a betterment rate, it was 2 plus 0.5%.
Right.
So if you're looking at that, it would be another $535 approximately.
So in the first year,
In the first year, and then we go down from each year.
it's like 1,600, right? You said like 1,100 something, so it's like 1,600. Is that amount divided up on the 4 quarterly bills, or only the third and fourth quarter?
Third and fourth actual tax bill.
Every year of the 20 years.
It would go down from the first year. As
Okay.
the principal is reduced, the interest would also, I shouldn't say as the principal, as the total principal amount is reduced from year to year, the interest
The interest
associated with
reduced.
it would go down.
But there's no betterment payment on the first and second quarter. Whether you're in your 5th year or your 20th year of paying your betterment, you're only going to pay it the 3rd and 4th quarter.
That is how it has been. You are allowed, if the assessors had chosen to base their tax bills and include betterments on the first and second quarter bills, that they would be estimates from the prior year. You are allowed to do that. That's not how they've been doing it. I would say you would be safe in assuming they would be in the 3rd and 4th quarter bill, 2 equal payments.
Okay. So we're talking, for the highest year, roughly $800 each payment.
Yes, and they would be on the 3rd and 4th
3rd
quarter
and
bill.
4th
so they
quarter,
come
and
pretty
that's
close
August
together.
1st and November 1st, right? No, that's February 1st and May 1st.
Correct.
Because it's the fiscal year. See, you get me every time with that fiscal year.
But if the assessor so chose, that it could be $400 in each quarter, yes? Or thereabouts?
There are IGRs that relate to betterments.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to do a calculation and estimated off the prior bill. So if you do the first 2 quarters, you could divide last year's bill by 4, come up with a calculation, and do that. What that isn't doing is it isn't really applying it to those payments. When the actual bill is calculated on the 3rd quarter bill, that's when actual payments get applied to those amounts. So, and the other thing is, if people were budgeting for it, it's whether you're giving your money to us quicker or sooner. So we're making the
understand.
interest off the payments, or you keep it in the bank and you make your own interest.
Can people pay on their betterments any time other than being billed on the 3rd and 4th quarter?
Yes, you can make.
So they can come in and make a payment on the principal if they choose to, anytime?
They can make partial payments. That's typically people don't do that. They either pay them off, or it's not like a when they do a partial payment. I haven't seen anybody making payments toward that. They would have to recalculate the betterments. That's the assessor's side of things. I really haven't seen people making principal payments on these, basically because they're 2% loans or 2.5% loans. If the people can afford to pay them up front, they usually pay them off, or they'll put, when you first get the notice in the mail, if you have $10,000 in the bank and you want to apply that and better $11,000, you can certainly do that. You can select the number of years, whatever way you want to do it. You can pay it off at the end, but when you're paying that off, it's not really reducing your interest.
I understand.
Any other questions from the board?
No, but we will get answers to our questions from Mr. Judici in the next week or 2.
We will get answers.
Great, thank you.
Greg, can you let's put together an email in the morning off to Judici about where this was, and somewhere in your building or our building, we have to have the original estimates. Right?
I do have some original estimates. I've got a bunch of original estimates. I'll give you all that I have, but it doesn't break out, and I think the specific question is it doesn't break out attorney fees. And I think what I'm hearing is that who authorized these attorney fees, and I think that's where we're going with this. So what I have to find out from Mr. Judici is how's this wrapped into the process? And how did we authorize, who authorized? Was it in the requisitions that we're signing right along? And I'll vet that with Mr. Judici. Explain to me how the lawyer bills were accounted for, authorized, and paid, because I don't know, and I'll get that answer.
And we'll have Mike in as well at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, we're ready to move on to item C, which is SOAR policies and procedures, which I believe is Mrs. Begley.
Yes, and I had excuse me, Mr. Chair. Does somebody want to get Alan back in here?
Oh, he's right there.
Just wake him up.
And just so you know, that's why I didn't ask him to move. I just told him he couldn't speak because he can go sit right there. He's just not going to speak.
You got a few minutes of shut-eye.
And you're not supposed to fall asleep, although you were a private citizen for a few moments.
I had suggested to this board that I had no intentions of disturbing Mr. Campina because it was very important to me to get these numbers to the public. But that said, I wonder if it would be possible, Mr. Campina, to meet with you on Monday.
Next Monday?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, and again, the intention of this is not for the two volunteers on the board to rewrite policies. It's to help guide you to make sure that they keep a regular flow. No, I think you have 2 or 3 that you're going to get out to us this week, and so that next week we can start to go through them.
Well, we have 2. One's more of a...
Right, we have 2. One I was going to actually type out today, never got to it. So I was going to give it to you to take with you.
No, I wanted you to do this. I wanted all your attention on this.
And the ones you have in front of you, one is about the telephone policy.
We're not going to discuss the policies. We just want to get the time frame.
That's right. You can have that.
Right.
So can we meet sometime Monday, do you think?
Absolutely.
I'm unfortunately without a cell phone right now. I broke it.
Monday the 14th, whatever time you want, it's yours. When do you want to meet? You tell me.
Early afternoon, is that all right?
Whatever you want. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock?
Perfect.
1?
All right, you can take that. Any other sewer business? Town business?
Any other sewer business?
Any other sewer business? None? Anybody?
Just one thing. Guy?
Yes.
Are you going to be able to, you're going to get some help in order to come up with income statements, for the actual water pollution control facility to help us with the EDUs? You're going to, I think you're reaching out to the...
We're reaching out to, what I'm doing is I'm reaching out to local universities for some interns to really work those numbers. And I have a meeting at the end of this month with the representative from the Bridgewater State College, and we're going to present what we're trying to do, give them some ideas, and see if they can facilitate that for us to get us some interns that can really help us. I think it's a good opportunity to get some help. The price is right. The knowledge, these kids are really trying to better themselves through their master's program, so definitely going to get some help. And at the end of the month, I'll have that meeting.
Also, the FinCom, I think, is offered to help as well.
I have a meeting Wednesday morning with the FinCom.
Thank you.
9 o'clock.
Okay, Mr. Chair, moving on to item 9, town business. Thank you, Mr. Campina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Guy.
1 o'clock Monday.
Under item A, discussion of special town meeting Article 17. I believe this is a citizens petition article.
Yes.
He's
Mr.
on his
Brousseau.
way. Yeah, just speak right into it. Good evening, Mr. Brousseau.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bob Brousseau. I'm a resident of Onset, Precinct 2, and I'm here tonight to discuss with you a petition that I filed on April the 9th with 113 signatures for a motion, or I say a petition, to amend the Wareham Charter with regards to elections. Do you have the language before you? You probably have the language. I think possibly for into the record, I think it'd be worth probably just my reading what the proposal is. It is to determine whether the town will vote to add a registered voter requirement of 1 year for elected officers. And it amends in the charter section 3-1B, eligibility, remove the words, any voter shall be eligible to hold any elective town office, and insert the words, any inhabitant of the town of Wareham, having been a registered voter in the town of Wareham for at least 1 year, immediately preceding the day of the elections, shall be eligible to become a candidate for an elective town office. Notwithstanding the above provision, however, one, the name of any person nominated for election to the elected office who will be able to comply with the above requirements by the day of the election may appear on the ballot at that election as a candidate for the office. And two, a person who cannot meet the above requirements by the day of the election shall not be deemed eligible for nomination to election to the office, and therefore may not appear on the ballot as a candidate for the office. I was the lead signer on the petitions. There were many people who were concerned or interested in this. And this petition to amend the charter is not directed at any group or any individual. It is simply a feeling that a person who holds such an important positions in the elected positions in the town of Wareham, be it the Board of Selectmen, be it the school committee, the Board of Assessors, the town clerk, the moderator, and I believe we have the housing authority, we also have, I believe, the constables, should have some kind of a knowledge and an understanding of the culture of the town, our government, the citizens, the issues, and the problems that we face. And it was felt that a requirement that a person to be eligible to vote, eligible to run for an elective office, should have been a registered voter at least 1 year prior to that election. We do not feel that it is an unreasonable request. I believe that we look now, I know that people can register to vote. It does not take away anybody's right to vote. I was checking with the town clerk today, I believe 20 days prior to an election, somebody may go in and register to vote. I believe the nomination papers to run for office were available in January and February. I could have gone in on February the 13th. I could have registered to vote. I could have taken out nomination papers to run for an office as long as I had my papers back 2 days later on February 15th to appear on the ballot. I use the analogy, I served on the Wareham School Committee for 15 years. I could have worked in another community. I could have lived in another community for my 34 years as an educator. And upon retirement, could have decided, I'm going to move to the town of Wareham. I could have walked in here on that day, gone, taken out papers for school committee, probably knowing very little about the issues and the problems facing the Wareham School Department or the education issues in the town of Wareham, and run. I don't particularly feel that I would have been a qualified candidate to do that because I did not have any in-depth knowledge. So I think this is just not adding a layer, but I think trying to get candidates who are committed to the town, and I think if you have been here, if you've been a registered voter for a year, you have a better chance of knowing what is going on, what the issues are, and the culture of the community. And I guess that is the motivation for this particular petition article brought before the selectmen. Of course, it will be discussed at town meeting.
Yeah, and Mr. Brusso, and you know that we had a scheduling snafu.
Yes.
Last week.
Yes.
And the board did vote in your absence and without your explanation. Okay. 3 favorable action, 3-1-0. But tonight, does anybody from the board have a direct question for Mr. Brusso? Mr. Slade?
I don't have any questions, no.
All right, Mr. Brusso, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we're up to item B, discussion of the board's letter to WCTV, which I believe you sent?
No.
No.
I said I would bring it this evening. It was really short and sweet.
Okay.
I would not send a letter out on the board's behalf without having you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we voted to do that. Do you want me to read this?
No, I understand. If you
into the
mind,
record?
You could read it.
To the Board of Directors of
Copy.
WCTV from the Board of Selectmen. Dear board members, on behalf of the Wareham Board of Selectmen, I am respectfully requesting your support in the continuation of the existing policy of live streaming various town meetings. We as a board have heard from many citizens expressing their opposition to the decision that was made to end live streaming. Many of our tax-paying citizens and cable subscribers stay in touch with the business of the town by viewing the live streaming over the internet. There are several groups, including some that go south for the winter, away traveling on business or vacationing, part-time residents that reside here in the summer months, and a host of others. Thank you for your consideration in this matter, and hopefully you will decide as a board to continue to support the live streaming of the various committee and board meetings that take place throughout the town. Respectfully, Stephen M. Holmes, Chairman, Board of Selectmen.
And I would have the members listed.
It says list members,
listed
yes.
below that. Is that
I make a
suffice to the
motion
board?
to approve the letter.
I have a motion made in second. Anything else? Any revisions? I didn't spell anything wrong. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained, 400. I will get this out tomorrow.
Great.
I didn't
On-
want to send
on
it without
town-
having y'all look at it.
On town letterhead.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's why I do have some
Yeah.
issues.
Item C, Board of Selectmen events. Mr. Slavin.
Basically, what I was thinking of was the Board of Selectmen to get more involved with the community, more basically interface. And what I thought of doing was having Board of Selectmen days. There are some people that I've spoke to just to throw the idea out, and I've got pretty good positive feedback. Give you an idea of some of the things we had ideas on. It was a BOS Litter Mob. The Litter Mob does stuff. Actually, have the Board of Selectmen on a particular day. BOS at the beach, Swiss Onset Little Harbor. BOS honors the volunteers. We've done that before, but I believe they used to do something in the summer. They used to have a cookout and a barbecue right at Town Hall. And I know it was very well appreciated. It might be a nice thing to do again. BOS on Main Street. Obviously, Main Street's taken a severe hit with the construction, and they definitely need somehow to revitalize themselves and get going. A lot of stores are work on a week-to-week basis, and they've lost almost a month's worth of business, plus the parking spaces right now that are having problems with. So it would be nice if we found some way to get down there and be at the stores and restaurants and get people to come in and say hello and yell at us if they have to. BOS, Gateman Game Day. I believe someone's already working on that for us. Gateman would have a day and it'd be a BOS day. Another one would be the Boys and Girls Club Day. Work with them to see what they come up with. And the last one I had, BOS reads to the kids at the library. These are just some of the ideas. I'm sure there's more that we can come up with. But I think this is something over the next 6 months to 8 months that we could work out.
Comments?
Well, I like the idea. You know, I volunteer a lot here in the community for various organizations, and I do my best to patronize local businesses whenever it's financially feasible. But I definitely think it's a good idea for us to be out there kind of as a team, showing our. I mean, I try to stay out of sight, out of mind when I'm volunteering, because the event is about the event and not about me. So that's one concern I'd have, Mr. Slavin, is that our volunteering would take away from the cause and become more about us, and we don't want that to happen. And the other issue would be we would have to schedule a meeting and call it to order.
All can be done.
But other than that, I mean, I think that you know, volunteering in your community and supporting the causes and the local businesses is an important part of being a citizen, and certainly anybody in a leadership position. And I know that my colleagues do their best to get out there and give of themselves, their time and money too. So that's all my comments.
Begley?
Well, I share a little bit of the concern that Mrs. Winslow expressed. I mean, I've certainly read to kids. I've seen every one of us in various places with the different causes that we all support. Just by virtue of running for office, I think that we are involved with our community. And I guess taking the attention away from a cause, other than, I mean, having a BOS litter mob would be awesome. That's something I would kind of like to do. However, you know, I was at the litter mob, but when the harbor master had his beach cleanup, there were like 5 of us there, and my husband and I were 2 of those people, and the other 2 were Jamie and Gary. So it would be nice if we can get people to join us, but having a quorum at some of these things could complicate matters.
We can get a ruling from town council. I think when you do these kind of events, you don't have a quorum issue because you're not meeting and discussing anything.
That's if the citizens let us.
Well, we can always work on that. I think it's a great idea to be more visible in the community. I think that many of us do that anyway. But where I was going with this, Alan, is I've been thinking about some of this stuff is, you know,
No hot dogs.
Like it or not, it was fun for a while, but like it or not, we did get in the political arena. And you don't get here by having no help.
No.
As we all know. And so, the four of us, next week 5 of us, and other elected officials in town, we have a base of supporters. And I think that the board of selectmen, not creating its own little mob, but maybe they meet. I think it's every second Saturday or whatever that was, and we pick a Saturday and say, hey, you know what, we're gonna tap into that and beat the heck out of our list and get a bunch of people out there, and I think that would be fun. Some of us can't bend over like others, but it would be fun. And some of these other things that I think it's great stuff. I don't think it takes away from charities or anything like that. I think, but if we tap into our resources of people, we can make some of these events bigger and help make them bigger and more charitable. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to do some of this stuff, and as long as we're not violating any law by all showing up together, I think that's fine. I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
Just let me know if you want to go ahead, and I'll start to do a little more work.
But just one aside, and it's going to sound selfish, but so be it. Each one of us does dedicate a lot of our time to the town. And some of us are still employed, some of us work, and I just ask that you don't put too many of these events on because my family already suffers from my absence. My grandchildren are growing, like every time I see them, they've grown 3 inches because I haven't seen them. So just don't put too much on is my request.
Anything we do, we'll discuss it thoroughly before we put it in place.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I agree with Mrs. Begley there. And if we have a BOS day or we have participation, we all have lives and families, and maybe only 2 of us would be there, or 3 of us would be there, or representing the board. But I think that, people really notice, and I'm not patting us on the back, but you know what? When we show up at an event, I hear about that from people, and they say, somebody from the board showed up, and when one of us shows up, we all show up. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, we all get credit.
And, people really appreciate that when you show up and take the time. Somebody from town came. I don't know how many times I've commented about some of the games that I go to. I bring them up here on their announcements, and I show up, and once in a while I'll see another selectman. Well, if I go, Dolores and I, we're representing the selectmen. That's how I look at it. And you don't see anybody from other elected offices at these school events, and but the kids appreciate it. Half of them don't even know who you are. But the ones who do say, oh, that guy is a selectman, that lady's a selectman, it means a lot to people. It really does. And some of the comments we heard tonight in citizens' participation kind of tend into this, where you show up and you're visible as a board. So I think we can make it work. Hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
I can get them for 25 cents a pound.
Hot dogs. I like that. That's good. And leading right into that, folks.
Mr. Chair, we're on to item D, volunteer appreciation
Hot
dinner.
dogs. We're back to hot dogs again.
We're having this every other year now, Mr. Chair, apparently.
No, we haven't. No, listen, don't count us out yet. I was thinking about this the other day, and we have to set the date. But you know what I was thinking? We usually have that Friday evening in the basement with spaghetti, right? So now, a lot of our volunteers are away in the South for the winter. So if we wait until just after Memorial Day, most of them will all be back. And then we'd have a bigger crowd at our volunteer dinner.
Could we have...
And Steve's going to sing.
We have a barbecue?
I was thinking about something outdoors, yeah.
Yeah, the barbecue would be ideal.
It'd be fun. We own how many miles of beaches?
We have 54 miles of
54 miles of
waterways,
beaches. We have parking lots we own. We have tons of places we could have a party.
What I was thinking. It's your
Appreciation
thing, 'cause-
dinner.
Right. What I was thinking, but I'm afraid to have an idea because I'm afraid you're going to make me do it. But Safe Summer. Remember when they had the kickoff on the pier?
Yep.
And they had kind of the covering, and they had those gigantic grills.
Yep.
I think Gary got those for us. Or,
Yeah.
Not sure who got them.
Yeah, yeah. But that was a pretty successful event.
Yes, it was. And that's
Just
what I'm
saying.
thinking.
Mr.
So,
Harbor Master is quite resourceful.
it's not fair to appoint somebody who's not sitting up here, so.
That's the best way to
But
do it.
it's good for some things, but not good for others. I'm sorry, Peter. I'm sorry. That's my thought process behind the appreciation dinner. In the next week or so, we should make a decision on this, set a date, and move forward.
So we can
I think
volunteer
there's
you.
about, I think last year at the spaghetti dinner, it was quite a few people. I bet you there was over 100 people there.
Oh, there was,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah, it was a
easily.
good dinner. That worked out well, but I think it wasn't very much fun.
I had a blast.
Mrs.
Where were
Ekstrom's
you?
daughter had the music and lottery tickets under the chairs. But I'm thinking fun for people. To me that
Well,
wasn't a lot of fun.
are you thinking? I mean, I'm looking at the calendar now because everybody's calendars are going to fill up really fast,
Yeah.
and you really want to do it between Memorial Day and July and the 4th of July because it's going to get hot. It's going to get humid.
first couple
Well,
weeks of June.
use caution because when is Wareham High School graduation?
Well, that's what I'm looking at.
It's the first couple days.
So that's the first week.
anyways.
1st or 8th? So is it June?
I think it's June 1st.
It's a Friday.
I think it's June 1st, because the 2nd is on Saturday. I think it's June 1st.
Yeah, because the second and third have that
So we have to
bike
be
thing.
cautious around that
Does
time.
Does anybody have any plans that would interfere in June? Because I know I'm not available on June 15th, for example.
Well,
Well,
Fridays,
maybe we want to do like a
Fridays
Friday
are out for
evening.
me.
Oh, right.
Oh, Fridays are out. So now we look
need
at the
all the hands on deck. So
yeah
Fridays are
that whole weekend is out for me. The 15th,
do,
16th,
You
17th.
could even do like a
Father's Day.
Thursday evening. We don't have too many meetings on Thursdays. Wednesdays, Mondays, Tuesdays. and
Could we
Thursdays.
have it in
Thursdays
lieu
is a
of a
couple.
selectmen's meeting?
We could do that
On a
We
Tuesday,
could do that on a
Because
Tuesday
we
night.
know there are no meetings on Tuesdays other than ours.
We could do
Right.
that on a Tuesday night and take one of the weeks and have
How
a
about
volunteer
the 19th? Because that would give us
a month.
a month to plan.
June 19th.
June 19th. That way you can and you can tell the office so that they don't.
Get ready, Mr. Foster, because you're going to be very heavily involved in this.
June 19th.
We're going to dress you up
You
too.
cannot take a vacation that week.
He's already looking at his calendar.
No.
We can figure out the location and
I think we should try and do it down on the pier if we can.
then we can, Janet, she has the list of all the.
Is everybody available on June 19th? Mr. Teitelbaum, Mrs. Begley, Mr. Holmes, check
Alan's always available.
Bam.
I have no life.
There you go.
Mr. Slavin, Mr. Foster,
All right, June
Mr.
19th.
Sullivan.
And next week, when there are five of
Yeah.
us, we will pick our senior volunteers for the event.
Do we each get to pick one?
No.
Oh.
Okay, that's good. So, any volunteers out there on the committees, you know who you are. You can set aside June 19th in the evening for an evening of fun. What that is exactly, we'll figure it out, but
So-
it'll be fun.
The volunteers.
It's gonna
aren't
be
gonna
fun.
I mean, the volunteers are not volunteering to help us.
Oh,
because
no.
This is to
This
honor
is-
them.
this
So
is
all of
the,
those
uh,
hardcore volunteers, no.
I'm thinking
Take-
like
take
the
the night
five of us that are sitting here, one,
got
two
Mis-
additional.
Mr. Harbor Master.
Department heads typically
No,
will help
Right.
a little bit to make it happen.
Police department.
Okay.
Okay, now we are up to town business item E, dog bylaw committee appointment.
As I mentioned earlier, there was a motion at town meeting, and I'm actually going to try to make history, I think, in that all those articles that were voted on, if there's anything we have to do, I'm putting them down so that we have a spreadsheet to check them off when they're completed. One of the things is that we need to appoint a representative to serve on that doggy bylaw committee.
Oh,
That's going to come up with a riff
Can we? Yeah.
bylaw.
Should we wait till next week?
I was going to suggest that, Mrs. Begley, so that things like this, 6 days. We announced tonight, and I think there was an email that went out maybe Thursday, just informing the public. I'm ahead of this a little bit, but I'm trying to get ahead of things, so I'm ahead of this. So there won't be any interviews of people before next Tuesday, but I believe there is a deadline on when they begin. So we can put this off until next week.
Mr. Chair, we don't interview the applicants.
No, we don't.
Okay.
No.
It's the
town moderator, the town administrator, and
I think me.
is it the chair?
Was it the chair?
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you.
I think it was me.
But it's not us.
No, him.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, they've already had. We had to backtrack quick because, we're really focused on these applications. I'll tell you, I took a beating my first 6 months here, and now as soon as an application comes in, we put it on the Tuesday, right? And we had to come in for this, and Janet scheduled the people, and then we had to go back and say, "Oops, sorry, we're not the appointing authority." So we're getting so good now that we have to go back and rescind our invitations. That's okay. I'd rather be on that side.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Item F, board appointees regarding the mediation meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to, without privileged executive session information, the bottom line is we have some union contracts that are in mediation. Due to the nature of the fact that we have an interim town administrator and a financial analyst who are part of those bargaining units. We have, the Board of Selectmen has invoked a necessity clause where, because our administrator and assistant cannot take part in negotiations, the Board of Selectmen must, as executives in the town of Wareham, take an active role. What we have done is we have appointed Mrs. Winslow and Mrs. Begley, who will attend, along with town council, the mediation meeting. Their role, and this is not privileged information, just for the public, so that we don't get off to the wrong start. Their role is to meet with the Board of Selectmen prior to their going to the meeting, where contract issues will be laid out. The Board of Five will agree to certain aspects and where we think that they should end up in this negotiation, without going into specifics. And then the two of them would carry the message from the Board of Selectmen to the mediation. The mediation would be done between town council, our legal counsel, and the union. The two selectmen would be there representing the board and our wishes, and would be able to provide guidance only to the legal counsel. And then once that's over, they would obviously come back if there's something they can't agree on and discuss it with the entire board in executive session. And we hope that, and it's out of necessity, so we don't really have much of a choice. So before the whole town goes abuzz that selectmen to negotiate union contracts on their own, this was a necessity of law that we have to do this.
But Selectman Winslow and myself will not be negotiating.
That is absolutely correct. You will, what we will be doing between now and, I think the meeting is on the 17th, is the attorney Bowen will be working with the Labor Council, and they will present back to us, the Board of Selectmen 5, a grid that says issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 27, how many clocks, how many trophies. The Board of Selectmen would give guidance to the two members that we've appointed to attend the hearing. And that's basically what's going on. So I just didn't want that to get out in the wrong way. We did discuss it last week. It wasn't on the agenda. It was within the 48-hour rule because we had to. And so that should take care of that. Any other town business? Mrs. Begley?
Yes, I have a couple things, Mr. Holmes. I had asked some meetings ago, but just got a response today from Mr. Cole, and it was regarding the Union Pond.
I'm sorry, Mr. Who?
Mr. Cole, Justin Cole, the town accountant. And this was regarding the Union Pond mitigation sewer funds, and I had asked about that account. So I will forward this email, so I don't expect any kind of response, but the response I got from him was, after an extensive amount of research and meetings with planning and Mr. Campina, we believe we have squared away the segregation of the comprehensive permit funds into its own fund. Apparently that wasn't the case. Going forward, the name of the forward names Fund 6002, Retreat at Union Pond Mitigation. Any expenditures related to these funds were not processed directly to the correct funds, or were inadvertently processed by Mr. Campina through his normal operating budget. As a result, the current balance in the account is $100,800. I've sent a memo to Mr. Campina to review expenditures that should have been related to these funds so that a reclassification can be set up for review and transfer. He also sent a memo to the treasurer indicating he needs to correct an error on his books related to a deposit that was incorrectly coded for approximately $60,000. Going forward, the records of the treasurer, accountant, planner, and water pollution control should all be in balance. So I will forward all this information to the board.
Thank you.
And then I'm not the liaison, but I got several emails from Marilyn Russell from Recycling because she's expressed some concern that they will be out of funds and have to close the recycling center as of March 2013.
I believe that was one of the issues that she spoke to us about when she was here a few months ago, was that the recycling coordinator was once a part of the budget. It was paid for out of the town budget, and now that position is no longer a town employee. It's a consultant, if you will, a 1099 that's paid for out of the revenue that they generate from people who donate their cans or, the recyclables that they're able to sell in some of the events that they have. We only have, I believe, and Mr. Foster can look this up tomorrow, I believe it's about, Mr. Sullivan might know off the top of his head, we only have about $5,000 budgeted annually.
I have their entire account history here from 2009. And it's a paid position, their consultant, so that's $5,000 a year.
Correct.
And that's pretty much their budget. So I don't know, is this a contracted employee?
Yes.
I mean, well, who signed the contract? How long is the contract? Is this in this economy, $5,000 is $5,000. And if the choice is that we have to shut down the facility or have a paid consultant, we may have to, this needs to be an agenda item.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I appreciate bringing it up but to ask people questions, and I don't think putting
but
everybody
I have again, I contacted Mr. Cole, and Marilyn had sent me what she had provided for the FinCom, so I'd be happy to pass this on to the rest of the board, and then we can put it on as an agenda item.
That would be appropriate. We'll get it on for, if we can get that information distributed, we can get it on probably for next week.
Okay, and can we get a clock?
It's right there. It's just not on the wall. It's not working, but it's right there.
It's broken and it's not on the wall, everybody.
Can't afford a clock.
It's 9/11.
Money's tight. Next.
Okay. Next thing is, where are the executive session minutes from last year, Mr. Former Clerk?
Most of them are taped. Have we not done that? Any?
Maybe one.
We'll check on that.
The other thing is, this needs to be an agenda item. Earth removal fees. We just got another report. I think I received it today from JC Engineering for the one permit holder we have in town. which reminded me, I have been trying to find out if the town has received the fees that are required by bylaw. Do you know the answer? So I guess it could be an agenda item rather than ask you now, Mr. Foster.
Okay.
And, is it okay if he answers it, Mr. Holmes, or would you prefer it to be an agenda item?
Go ahead.
The Board of Selectmen's office has been going through the prior records for the earth removal to send out bills for prior years. It appears that they've been applying for their licenses and have not been paying their earth removal fees. I've discussed that with Rich Bowen, and we're trying to, well, actually, he's given me an opinion that we can go back and charge them for all years. So
Which will add up to a significant amount of money.
Right, I believe the estimate was, well, I don't want to say what the estimate is until we actually get
But
the number.
thousands,
Yes.
thousands of dollars.
Correct. But I don't believe, they have been submitting their reports, the engineering companies have been submitting their reports to the Selectmen's office. At one time, the other earth removal companies were submitting those reports with fees attached. They were submitting the reports with the cubic yards without a check, and nobody was following up to say, you know, you actually need to pay a fee along with this. So,
So you're working on it. And just the final, just to mention this, and I did mention it to one of the reporters that we have who had asked me to comment on my vision in the next year. I was uncomfortable.
Is this stuff that's within?
This is other town business. This is for the board. And I just want to say that
Well,
my
we can't, it's only because if it isn't something urgent in the last 48 hours, it should be on
It
the
is because I
agenda.
just got called on this today. In fact, I was just approached 15 minutes before the meeting. I just wanted to express myself, saying that I'm uncomfortable in expressing myself and my vision for the town. I would prefer that this board get together, that we come up with a vision for the town, something that we can all get behind and make happen. And that's pretty much what I said.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. I just want to make sure we're not getting off.
No.
I think we all said the
Don't
same
get
thing.
scared.
Next.
Number 10, town administrators.
No. Did you have any other town business that's not reasonably?
No, but can I just make a suggestion? It would probably be a little bit easier if the things that need to be agenda items that aren't urgent could be emailed, so the chair, I think he has a calendar now, can get them on the agenda, and then we can track them, so we know.
He's got him now.
Mr. Slater?
I received yesterday a confirmation, I think, from John on the town accountant.
Under the town administrators, yeah.
I just want to make a point of it, though. The date is the 7th, and under the charter, it says we have 15 days once the position
Yeah,
is
it'll be
there.
under his report.
And we have no, at least I have no information on the actual person or anything, so I want to make sure we don't, like, one day before we have to pull the trigger, we have to make a decision. So it should be on the agenda for the 8th with full information for us. It may or may not have to be executive session also.
Number 10, Mr. Foster.
I just have 3 quick things that I'd like to bring up, and the first one is the town accountant's hiring process, which there is it's a quick memo, a job posting, and the letter of appointment of the town accountant. On Friday, March 9th, the town, that was the deadline for the town accountant applications and resumes. The town received 10 applications. A screening committee had been established by Mark Andrews several months prior. This is the 3rd round of interviews. We met with the applicants. The screening committee consisted of Ellen Begley, Anna Miranda, Samuel Gray, and myself. On Thursday, April 26th, 4 candidates were interviewed. The committee selected Brian Kudish as its top candidate. Mr. Kudish was asked to return for a second interview on Monday, May 7th. I met with Mr. Kudish, and explained that the position had been advertised for $90,000 to $95,000, but however, the top salary for the position was $88,741. I offered the position to Mr. Kudish. He accepted the position, and the board was mailed a copy of the appointment letter, and the board has 15 days from the date of appointment to veto the decision.
Mr. Chair?
Mrs. Bagley?
I have, I participated in the interview.
I was going to ask you to speak.
I participated in the interview, and I think Mr. Foster mentioned it, but it was unanimous. And
Say it
this,
again?
it was a unanimous selection. With the search committee, we had been through the first round of interviews, then a second round of interviews, and this is the third round.
Third round.
Third round of interviews that this committee participated in. And is it possible, Mr. Foster, that his resume and even some of the comments from our committee are distributed with the rest of the board?
Absolutely. I can scan those in, and I have his resume in front of me right now, and I'll just go over a quick history or highlight his resume. Mr. Brian Howard Kudish, Esquire, CPA. He's an attorney. He's a CPA. He has 15 years of accounting experience. He has worked for large corporations. He has limited municipal experience. However, he has extensive private sector experience. He has a degree in accounting from Bentley University and a law degree from Suffolk University of Law. He was admitted to the Mass Bar. His CPA, however, is in Rhode Island. I checked his references. His references were professional references. They were outstanding. He is very motivated and I would say extremely talented in the accounting field. He has worked on, he has created accounting policies, procedures, and internal controls, which if you remember our last audit, we were lacking. He has accounting, tax, audit, compliance, and legal expertise, and he has listed a number of companies that he has worked for as a consultant, as well as some of the other companies that he's worked for as a staff or full-time accountant. He was a comptroller, vice president of finance, in charge of internal controls. He's worked with IT, audit compliance, and contracts.
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Foster. The references that you received, can you just jot down some of the comments? Did you make notes?
Actually, I did, and it's in his folder.
Okay. I mean, but when you send the resume, I mean, it might be helpful to put that into perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be enormously helpful. And this will be on next week's agenda,
This will
Mr.
be on-
Chairman, to take action on.
This will be on next week's agenda. And John, if you wouldn't mind to get that scanned tomorrow for the board to review. I do remember it's the same gentleman that you interviewed some time ago.
No, this is
No.
This is somebody new?
Yes.
This is his first application. This is when we sent out the application for the $90,000 to $95,000 figure.
No. This was
Okay.
from the higher, once we raised the salaries, we got a host of applications. Actually, there were a couple from out of state.
Right.
So this is not the person you all talked about at the high school one day when we were all sitting there. Okay, great. Okay.
Did you have anything else, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, I have two other items. They're small. The MEMA, Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, is having their statewide hurricane preparedness conference tomorrow. Lieutenant Walsack, David Evans, Gary Buckminster, and Jamie McIntosh will represent the town of Wareham. And the conference will provide participants with an educational opportunity to learn about the various hurricane preparedness topics. Guest speakers from the National Hurricane Center from Miami, Florida, National Weather Service, FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers will all be in attendance, and they will represent the town of Wareham. And the last thing was we had an employee health fair yesterday. It was well attended. We had many participants from our healthcare providers, life insurance. They had many different things. Food was involved.
It's always
different
involved.
vendors, and it was well attended by the employees.
Wouldn't be a town event without food,
Right.
Mr. Foster.
So it was actually meant, they have this annually, and it's meant to go over, that is the time of year that we sign on or renew or change our policies with health insurance, dental insurance, things like that. It's turned into quite a large event. It was attended by, had to be, over 100 people.
Oh, great.
Is that
And
put
that's
on,
all
is
I
this
have.
put on by the Board of Health?
Yes.
Is that put on by
Yes.
the Board of Health?
In fact, this was the first year I've missed in many years, but
I didn't
get the notice till that morning.
yesterday.
It wasn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of advance notice.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was tied up yesterday. I do.
okay.
enjoy going.
Next year, maybe we can get at
Any
least.
questions for Mr. Foster?
Go, no, go ahead, Ellen.
Mrs. Begley?
He looks at you, Mrs. Beckley. Mr. Slavin? Oh, no.
I have something to do here.
When are we going to put it on the agenda about the town administrator's position?
Yes, ma'am.
Next time?
I was hoping to do it for today. I would like the 5 of us to discuss that.
Okay.
So,
definitely
it's on for
next
next
Tuesday.
week to.
So it sounds like
we're
we're
going to
to
reorganize one of the packets because I have not included Mr. Titlebaum on any emails that I
No.
send out.
Right.
Because he's an elect.
Right.
So.
Until he takes the oath of office.
That's correct. So, there's information like the job description that we have to go through and
Right.
everything else that.
But next Tuesday.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
With that.
I just think that's important. Okay.
Yeah, but let's
Any,
make sure that Mr. Titlebaum has a chance to read everything before he sits down
Well,
on
yeah,
Tuesday.
but I'm pretty sure he can get up to speed on a one-page document pretty quickly. Mr. Slavin, questions?
Question for John. The emergency preparedness. I remember there was an MMA course this year where they talked about there was a mayor and there was one other official from another town where they had some flooding issues, and both the officials said they weren't prepared for what happened. They didn't have backup records. They didn't have backup plans where to run town hall from. There's just a whole bunch of things which is very interesting. They offer a course for selectmen, mayors, city councilors, etc., to get training for emergency preparedness, which I don't believe anybody has ever done at the administration level. I'd be hopeful if you could look into that for us, because that was a major piece for financial, for reimbursement. There's a lot of things, if we don't do it right, we don't get anything.
Right.
And we had nothing. I don't think we have anything in place at the administrative level. We do for the police and fire, etc. But at the upper level, we don't have anything.
That was actually mentioned in our audit as well, disaster recovery.
Yeah.
How you would go about running the day-to-day operation of the town with a lack of power, or if the town hall were flooded, or it's being used as a base for an emergency, how you would go around and pay your bills and do. A lot of that's already in place. That is something that has been brought up in the audits, and something that the former town administrator was working on.
Yeah, it's not FEMA, but I think it's the state organization that actually offers the training and stuff, and I believe it's very little cost, if not free. So if you could look into that, I'd appreciate that.
Just one other thing. I'm sure that you were notified, but I don't know if Mr. Titlebaum was. Maybe you've informed him, Mr. Slavin. The MMA has a all-day workshop for newly elected officials, and I believe you probably did you get it by email? It's like June 9th or I can't remember.
I think it's May 29th.
Oh, May 20th. Really?
Yeah.
Memorial Day?
But that's well worth attending. Because not only do you get...
No.
May 29th? 28th?
I don't remember what the date is, but I attended last year, and not only is it's a whole lot of information, however, it's a great way to network with other selectmen, et cetera.
I've already signed up for it, and I already asked John about it.
All right.
We'll take
report.
Peter.
Anybody? Mr. Slavin?
Don't have any reports. We haven't asked the committee yet.
Right. Mrs. Begley?
No.
Mrs. Winslow?
Mr. Chair, you have me scheduled to update you on the Board of Selectmen
No,
policies.
right now we're on liaison reports.
Oh, isn't that under the oh, I don't have any.
No.
I want to tell you, I'll just give you a 30-second plane ride. I attended last night's CETA meeting, and in 2 years, I got to tell you, I went home last night so excited. It's probably the most excited I've been in 2 years. I was sitting in this seat. And I want to tell you that it would really, the town really needs to pay attention to this Mr. Pena guy. And everybody will get to know him at some point. His excitement, his ideas, his energy. Great selection. And I really don't think that this is fake or something that's going to blow up and the air's going to fall out right away. This guy is really determined to grow Wareham and to make us a showpiece. So I was flat out excited. I'm looking forward to getting him in here in a couple of weeks. We talked about having him in once a month and to talk about what's going on and different things. So really exciting, very exciting. Mrs. Winslow?
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Board
Oh.
of Selectmen policies.
This, if you want to pass the candy.
Oh,
back
sure.
in.
That's because you're going to tell us you don't have any. So you're going to give us candy to sweeten
No,
us
it's
up.
Mrs. Begley's candy. As far as the Board of Selectmen policies go, I have begun to really, thank you, really get into the nitty-gritty of organizing these. There's a couple things that I noticed. We seem to have a number of policies that say replace rescinded, but it appears that most of them have been rescinded. The poor office was running around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to find me copies. But so some general observations. For the most part, our policies, with a couple of exceptions, are, even if they're old, are being abided by.
No, maybe you missed the point. The point is, when are they going to start coming through so that we can go through each of them and update them, refresh language, refresh dates, so that by the end of the year, every policy will be updated in the year 2012.
Well, but
that's
this,
our goal.
This is my question to you.
If it hasn't changed, we still want to come in, freshen it up, and redo the dates and re-sign them. I mean, we got people signing that stuff years ago.
Oh, I know. Some of these go back to the 1980s. Currently, the book is set up by policy subject, not by policy number.
That's fine.
So it's a little confusing because on the index, the book is actually not set up the way the index is set up. There does not seem to be a rhyme or reason. So
that's why you volunteered to make rhyme and reason out of it and
well,
get two or three in here a week
trouble.
for us to discuss and move along.
I'm having a little trouble with that, but the good news is that it seems that other than a few that I'm still looking for, that we have copies of everything. So that's good news.
Okay, the timeline
And-
is what I'm trying to get to on that. When I want to discuss the policies, when are we going to see the first two, three?
Well,
next
you
week,
got
the
a
week
copy.
after?
You got a copy of all the liquor policies today. So that piece is
I
done.
haven't seen that yet.
It got emailed out to you today. So I would say that I will send you a proposed list sometime this week.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So I just want to keep it moving.
I know you want to land the plane.
All right.
Speaking of policy.
Hey, listen, and like I said in the beginning, I know that everybody's time schedule is busy. We're not asking either one of you to write policies, just to organize getting them through the mill.
No, and I
if it's-
understand that, but I wanted to make sure. First of all, I wanted to make sure we had a copy of the most recently updated policy. It took me a while to figure out the difference between the policy index and the book. And
I did want to just note one thing before the next motion is made. There is a letter in your packets that you requested last week. It's from 2009. Those are not incorrect dates.
I don't have a letter in my packet.
You should have a certified letter in both of your packets, Mr. Slavin, you as well. You asked for that last week.
Oh, I did. You're correct.
It's on a prior
yes.
offense.
Yes, got it.
It is in your packets this
Okay,
week, as
thank
you
you.
requested.
Thank you.
But the
Okay.
dates are not wrong.
Okay.
Because when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, no, we didn't do this again. But,
No.
no, this is the previous that
Okay.
you all asked for, okay?
Hold on. I want to read it. Kidding.
Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
anything else?
while we're on the subject of policies, could I ask Mr. Foster about, Mr. Foster, there seems to be an issue with people having access to the recorders to record their meetings. Either there's not enough, or people aren't returning them, or they have the recorder and they're told by our office that there's no tapes available. So that's from our office. So could you just be sure that there's plenty of recorders, that they're not expensive recorders, for Pete's sake, and at least we can have tapes available? I'm hearing this from many committees. Thank you.
I am meeting, on the last piece is an update. I am meeting with Mr. Bowen, I think tomorrow, because it's going to rain.
Which means-
And our discussion is to revive the WCTV agreement, and then him and I are going to go through it real quick, and I'll get it out to all the board members. As you put me in charge of the point person to move that along quickly, we're going to get working on that, cracking
It was
on that this week.
some months ago that we made that motion was made.
Mr. Chair,
Well, wait, that was only last week.
can
No,
I
To
for you,
make
but
me
I'm
the driver.
saying that-
Right.
Right.
can I just go back to the policies for a quick second?
You have
The
for next week?
No. Well, I kind of do. We have 4 policies that deal specifically with shellfish and oyster beds. My suggestion was going to be that we ask the harbor master to review those, because they go back to the 80s, and the newest one is 2001, and he would be the one that would be the most up to date on the latest statutes and
Go ahead.
regulations. So, Mr. Foster, would you mind asking Mr. Harbor Master to take a look at policy number 8817, 8902, 8903, and 0101, and make his recommendations to the board? Please. Thank you. Motion. Oh, and we also, there's one policy I
You don't
found.
need to add 47 layers to this, please.
Listen, there's a policy that I found that we're not abiding by, and I think it's an important policy. It's
Ah.
number 88-16,
Yeah.
which is the employee recognition policy. And if we could all take a look at it,
Bring it in and
It's-
put it on
it's
your
in your
list,
box.
Mrs. Winslow.
it's in your book.
Thank you.
And that's it. Motion to adjourn.
Wait,
Made and seconded by Mr. Slavin. All in favor?
second for discussion, only because please put us developing the summer calendar for Board of Selectmen's meetings
I got
on the
that
next
request
one
this
as well.
morning from Shirley, yes.
Thank you.
Anything else on adjournment?
Nope.
Please remember to sign. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, and have a good evening. Thank you very much.